welcome back to the channel, guys. We're gonna do some 94 to 04 stuff today. A little more specifically 99 to 04, but they're very, very similar. This is a little bit, a lot of personal experience and a little bit of research as well, but a lot of guys that are looking to get into the Mustang game, maybe they've never had a Mustang before. Let me roll this up. Or maybe they have and they're looking for something else that maybe is a little more affordable than a Fox body or an S197 or an S550 that they can tinker with. They can play around with. It'll still be a little bit of fun. And that fits the 99 to 04, 94 to 04 cars like a glove. That's the point. Let's go. Alright, y'all, so a little bit of backstory. Yes, I've owned a few of these cars and currently own 2 of these cars. And you know, it's really come a long way from, you know, back in the day when these cars came out. You know, they had a lot of desirable stuff on them. They were good cars, and for the time they made pretty decent power. You know, 260 horsepower for the GTs, and that was a lot better than the previous generation, which was like 215. All right, guys, and so let's kind of go over this real quick. Yes, this is Project Cherry Bomb. It's a little rough around the edges. This is kind of representative of what is out there, albeit this one had some good parts on it and was a pretty good start, and it had a lot of things that were what I was looking for what I intend to do with it, which I will share in another video. But let's talk about the 99 to 04 cars specifically. They had good brakes. They were 5-lug from the factory, which is better than the old Fox design. Manual or all automatic available. Had a good solid 8.8 behind them. The GTs had the 4.6 2-valve, which, guys, I'm gonna be honest, is pretty freaking reliable. I have seen a lot of them go, you know, go bad, like the bearing, you know, they'll start knocking, stuff like that. Personally, I believe that's from lack of maintenance and or beating the crap out of it on a continual basis. But again, my personal experience with the 4.6, well maintained and not just ragged out, pretty freaking reliable engine. But yeah, 260 horsepower, didn't make a lot of power. A few bolt-ons, they would do okay. You could get close to 300, but you know, without boost, you're not going to do a whole heck of a lot. But these cars were extremely sharp. These are good looking cars. They've got really good lines, and with, you know, some mods like the Mach 1 front end and, you know, smoked lights and all of that, they're a really sharp car. All right, so interior wise, the interior in the 94 to 04 cars is actually pretty good. You got nice leather seats, decent leg room. They actually got an inch more for the 99 to 04 cars. Dash is clean, well laid out. You know, this is the newest one was 04, so there wasn't any heated seats, nothing like that. It was pretty basic, but you had your power windows and your locks and all that. Great car overall. They did have good sound systems, either the Mach 460 or the Mach 1000, which is a little more rare. They sounded great, and you know, you could expand them as you wanted, but overall, pretty nice little car. All right, guys, so that's not necessarily what this video is about, to give you an overview of these cars. What I'm here to give you is the bad news, stuff you should look for if you're gonna buy it, stuff you can expect. And to be honest, guys, I'm gonna be very honest, it's not a lot. Like, overall, these cars are pretty freaking rock solid. Now, yeah, the model run went pretty much 10 years, and it was on a proven Fox chassis, so I think that helped it a lot. But overall, not bad. Let's get into the first problem that you're going to run into in any 94 to 04 car. All right, here's your issue. As you can see, and guys, I've already replaced these, but the door pulls on these cars from the factory didn't have any bracing behind them. So every time you went to pull the door, you were essentially trying to pull this out. And again, yes, I've replaced these already. When I got this car, they were both broken. Got these from LMR. You know, they were not expensive. They're not hard to replace, but the problem is just replacing them doesn't fix the problem. You have to be very careful. if you look at this door over the time, it's ripped it right there. And it's just a bad design. It's a poor design from the factory. I don't know if anybody has ever decided to try and make a fix for it, but it's just, you know, one of those things where you're gonna have to learn to deal with it with these cars. See, as you can see, this one won't even snap in place anymore. One thing I do, and it's kind of funny, but I'll grab the mat pocket down here and pull the door shut. But again, I've replaced both of them. The passenger door is fine, it snaps in good, but again, the most used door is the driver, and might as well get used to that. Again, they're not expensive, lmr.com, easy to replace, but just one of those things with these cars. All right, so next very common issue with the 99 to 04 GT specifically are the dual piston PBR calipers. These were different for the Mach 1s, the Bullets, and the Cobras. The GTs are the only ones that got these, but they stick bad. On my wife's old 03, they stuck so bad one time that it almost caught fire. The rotor was glowing, it destroyed a brand new set of pads, and this was a brand new remanufactured caliper. If you don't believe me, jack your car up, try to spin your front wheels. They're just bad. They're a bad design. For some reason, I don't know if it's part of the hydro boost, the caliper design itself, but they won't release all the way. And I've taken them completely apart. I've gooped up the slides really well, you know, put brand new slides, make sure the boots are sealed, and they still, as soon as you touch the brake one time, they stick. And it kind of sucks, and it makes for a lot of brake dust, especially if you really try to keep your car clean and you have nice wheels. It makes a lot of brake dust, and just overall a pain in the butt. I'm sure it doesn't help performance or mileage to have your brakes dragging all the time. Best thing that I've seen that, you know, makes it better is swapping over to the Cobra brakes, which is an easy swap. All you got to do is swap the caliper and the rotor, and they bolt right on. But yeah, that's an issue you're bound to have with a 99 to 04 GT. One more note while we are up here at the front, down at the wheel on the 99 to 04 cars, is the hub assemblies. For some reason they get slack in them, and you know, they make noise, and they can be problematic as well. Do yourself a favor, buy a Moog or an OE Ford hub assembly, and you won't have to replace them quite as much. But like I said, just one of those things. Another issue you'll run into is that right there. Wait for it. Yeah. Talk about freaking noise. These vents up here, the HVAC vents in the center stack, and I believe I haven't had a car where they changed the center stack just a little bit in 02. I have not had that car do it. Actually, it might have been 01. But these center vents, listen, they are freaking terrible, and they drive you out of your mind. You want to stick little pieces of paper and pennies and everything else in there. They're very annoying. All right, guys, so let's talk about issues under the hood. The very, very first issue that you're going to have to deal with the 4.6, especially the, you know, specifically the 2-valve, is the intake manifold. And I'm going to show you real quick the difference. You look at this intake and you look at this intake. What we're looking at right here is this crossover tube. So you've got your coolant temperature sensor there, and you've got your thermostat there. As you can see on this intake, which this is a low mile car, it's never been replaced, it's plastic here. Okay, so let's go over to this car. This is a high mileage car, and it has been replaced. You see, one's aluminum, one's plastic. What would happen with this old design is the plastic ones would leak. So later on, and I believe 02 and up, possibly 03, got the updated intake manifold with the aluminum tube. It's real easy to check your car, just look and see, is it metal, is it plastic? But these would leak, and there's no way to fix it other than replacing your entire intake manifold, which is not a job, but is a little bit on the pricey side and does require a few special tools like fuel line disconnects, which are not, you know, expensive or hard, but you know, can be a major pain in the ass. So that's one thing to look for.
it will leak coolant into the engine. It's not something you can let go. You do have to replace it. All right, so the next issue, and I'm not really sure why, to be honest with you, is misfires. They will get misfires, and it's just one of those mysteries. Here's what I've found, and if you ask pretty much anybody that's ever spent a lot of time working on one of these, if you have a misfire, the best thing you can do is get the correct, and I believe it is a platinum, OE Ford spark plug and an OE Ford coil, and replace them all at once and be done with it. What'll happen a lot of times is you'll get one misfire and you'll find where the misfire is coming from, and you'll replace one coil. Well, now you've got a bunch of old coils and a bunch of new ones, so you get another miss and another miss and another miss. Do yourself a favor. If your car's got a bunch of miles, over 100,000 especially, replace them with OE Ford coils. Now, as you can see on this car, which we just recently bought, it's got Excels. I'm going to take these off and put OE back on it. The car doesn't have a miss. It actually runs fantastic. But OE is, especially in the coil department and the plug department, critical to these cars running good. Do yourself a favor, put OE Ford on it. They're not that much more expensive than an aftermarket one, and they will last a long time, and you won't be chasing misfires. While we are on the subject of changing coils, you see right there, your fuel rail covers up your coils, so you've got to lift that up to gain access. And then you can see you've got this heater hose that comes off the intake right here in front of this coil. There's a nipple right here behind this coil, and it's extremely brittle from heat cycles, coolant running through it over the years. Be very careful. Be very, 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 very careful. If you break that nipple off, you're replacing the intake. I know you think you can fix it. You can't. You're going to replace the intake. And so be very, very careful when you're replacing this coil back here. Also, one other note, you'll notice these have a custom style fitting here at the heater core for your heater hoses. You can adapt, just a normal hose with a clamp. It typically is kind of a hack job, so get OE Ford. But just a quick note, especially back here, this nipple coming off that attaches to this hose right here is very brittle, and you'll bump it trying to get that coil out. Be careful. Okay, so what's another issue that you see a lot with the 94 to 04? No, really any fuel injected Ford back in the day is your idle air control, or better yet, the IAC. That regulates your idle, helps it to, it monitors air in and out to give you the correct idle that the computer commands. The problem you run into, and I've seen it a million times, is people either buy a cheap aftermarket one or they will attempt to clean them. Neither one of those is going to work. Maybe it'll work for a very short time. My guess is it probably won't at all, just based on experience. When you're dealing with the idle air control valve, if you're having idle issues and you're pretty sure that's it, get an OE Ford idle air control. Brand new, put it on there, and your problems will be solved. I guarantee you that if you buy an aftermarket one, or you attempt to clean it with yourself with some carburetor cleaner, it's not going to fix the problem. But there it is on the 4.6 cars, and it's no different for the 5-liter pushrod cars. Ford IAC, not aftermarket, and cleaning it is not going to do jack. All right, guys, so I hope that video was helpful. Like I said, these cars overall are very reliable. They have very few problems. There were a few things I didn't mention, like a lot of times the driver's side seat belt doesn't want to retract. I mean, it's not a huge deal. There are some little things, but overall, those are the biggest, most expensive, or something that could possibly give you quite a bit of problems that I could find, or that I've personally experienced with these cars. Personal experience is maintenance and not beating the piss out of them. They're fine. My wife's 03 that we sold a couple years back, I maintained that car religiously. Almost 250,000 miles on it. The trans is still going. It is supercharged now, and they ended up having to swap the engine, but that thing was fine. And fuel filters, flush your transmission fluid, change your rear end oil, change your engine oil, use a Ford filter and just a standard Motorcraft 5W20 synthetic blend. You don't have to get crazy and put Mobil 1 in it. It's not going to do any good. Run good gas in it, and you know, like I said, OE spark plugs, OE coils. I prefer OE batteries because I'm getting like 7-8 years out of the damn things. That little stuff goes a long way. But again, if you don't maintain something or you beat the living snot out of it day in and day out, which is fine. Do what you want to do with your car. Just don't expect it to, you know, be rock solid reliable. Chances are with these engines, you may end up spinning a rod bearing. That's just what we've seen and what seems to be the norm. But again, my personal experience, maintenance, and you know, having fun with the car but not beating the snot out of it, 0 issues. 0. Alright guys, so that is pretty much gonna wrap up this one. I hope this helps you. I've gotten a lot of people that are, you know, into the to the new age content and the 94 to 04 content, and that's great because again, if you know, with Fox body values going up and you know, other cars being more expensive, these are a good alternative. But I am going to tell you, like I've said before, these cars were not loved. They were not well taken care of. So finding a very clean, very well maintained, even low mileage one is somewhat difficult unless you want to spend a lot of money. And when I say a lot, I'm saying, you know, 15 to 20,000 for a GT with low miles. So I always, guys, I'm telling you, that's part of what I do is I stay on Marketplace and eBay and all these other places, and I monitor prices and see where the market's going. So trust me when I say I've done my research, and you know, you can pretty much bet that I'm going to shoot you straight every time on what values are doing for these cars. But if you're looking for one, you know, take your time, find the right one, and they are great cars. They can look great. You know, throw some mod. They sound great with exhaust. They're never going to be very fast. You can put, you know, boost on them, not a lot because the bottom ends are kind of weak. But I mean, overall, they're great cars and a lot of fun to drive, modify, tinker with. Coyote swap it, put a push rod on, do whatever you want with it. They're great cars, and you know, they're over 20 years old now too, so they're starting to get to that nostalgia, classic, not classic, but getting there. You know what I mean. So also, if you want to see my top 5 best performance for these cars mod wise, drop me a comment below. I've got some of what I know about these cars that I could put together for you. If you don't give a damn, say I don't give a damn, and we'll just move on. So in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, big thumbs up, make sure you smash that subscribe button. I'll catch you on the next one.